Hello, this is Elizabeth Griffin, the Black Romance Writer, and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, if you're not following me, please take a moment and do so, and definitely hit the notification bell so that anytime I upload a new video, you will be made aware immediately. Today, I want to talk about aging and creating a line of books for older women. Have you ever thought about writing for an older heroine? Have you ever thought about creating literature for older people? Have you ever thought about writing romance novels for the mature older woman? Have you ever thought about what it takes to write such a book? What are some of the issues and some of the things that older women and older people grapple with? These are some of the questions you may ask before you decide to open your laptop and start creating the older heroine and the older hero. I think that there is a demand, a huge demand, for stories that feature older, mature adults and the things that they go through in life, their desires, their aspirations, the things that they may want at the age of 40, 50, 60. And what are some of the storylines? Will you have an older woman surviving or recovering from a horrible divorce? Will you have a widower that is trying to pick up the pieces after the death of his wife? What about if your children decide to marry and you don't get along with the in-laws? Or, God forbid, what if your child has a spouse that just does not like you and cannot get along with you to save their lives? These will make interesting stories. What about an older woman who is attracted to a much younger man, someone that is her son's age? How will she deal with that? How will she deal with the fact that she is an older, mature woman who should not be looking at a man of his age? You can explore that too in mature older fiction. There are so many topics and subjects and storylines that you can work with. And I hope you will take up the banner and that you will decide to write mature adult fiction and romance. And I, for one, would love to see people of color in these stories. And I have a newfound appreciation for hair dye. When I was in my 20s and my 30s, I dyed my hair because I wanted to change my look. I wanted to change my appearance. But as I get older and as I start noticing more and more strands of gray hair popping up around the edges of my hairline and certain patches in the center of my head, I'm realizing that hair dye is a game changer. It can take years off of your appearance and it can mask those gray strands that give you an older, mature look, which I don't have a problem with. But I like the fact that if I want to appear younger, I can change my hair color. And that does so many different things for my appearance. And the last thing on my list is water. I appreciate water because it hydrates my body. It hydrates my cells. It gives me a youthful glow. And yes, it makes me feel good to drink water. Why am I focusing so much on the physical appearance, the outside appearance? Is because people judge you by the way you look. And there is something called ageism that is very prevalent in our society. And it affects women much more than men. Women are expected to always appear youthful. And when you hit a point where you no longer look youthful, you get judged or you get overlooked. And I am realizing that this is the norm for the society in which I live. Now, don't get me wrong when I talk about gray hair, because if you watch my videos over the years, you have seen that I have worn hairstyles that were totally gray, afros that were totally gray, and I loved it and I felt comfortable in my skin. But I also have done other colors, blonde and redhead, because I like different looks, and different hairstyles and different colors give me a different appearance. And I like to change things up. But this society values youth. The society values women appearing youthful. And I'm not going to be able to change that. But the point of this video is talking about aging. And I want to create a line of books for older women. Because yes, when I started reading romances, I was in my teens and I was looking for boy meets girl. They fall in love. They create a family. You get the house and the white picket fence. And hopefully you will live happily ever after. But what happens when in real life you meet your guy? You fall in love, you marry your guy, you produce a family, but the relationship doesn't work out. And you have moved on to a new stage in your life. What about these women out there who have gone through this experience and they want to read mature fiction, fiction about women that are aging, women that are dealing with graying hair and getting older and being overlooked by men and by society? These women, and I include myself in that group, we would like to read fiction talking about these things. And what if you're an older woman who doesn't aspire to get married and have a family because you've already done that? What do you anticipate? What do you look forward to? These are things that I would like to address in fiction writing for older women. Finding a life partner, raising grandchildren, creating a relationship that isn't solely based on the emotional highs of falling in love and that honeymoon stage. What do these women feel? And what type of relationship do they want to form with a man? In fiction for older women, there are other things to discuss. As I mentioned, aging and the fact that I am thankful for the melanin, the water, the tweezers, and the hair dye. And I use that in a playful way. But aging and getting old can hit a person very hard. And it can sneak up on you unexpectedly. Like no one ever talked to me about aging. And I never thought about it. I went through my 20s and my 30s thinking about raising my family and writing and creating a writing career and working my 9-to-5 job and living life and enjoying life. But I never thought about getting old. Even when I had friends expressing they didn't like celebrating their birthdays because they were getting old, I didn't think too much about it because I looked young, I felt young, I was active, and I never thought about aging. And then one day, you look in the mirror and you notice a mole that wasn't there before. Or you notice under your eyes there are slight bags. Or you notice that your eyes are not as bright and vibrant as they once were. Or that perky, sexy, cute body that you had as a teenager and a young woman is not so perky. It's not so sexy. You have the mommy belly. You have gained weight from childbirth. You are not that same slender young woman that you once were. And that's not a crime. Aging is a process, and it is wonderful to age and to get older. And I would like to show this in books. And then I'd like to poke fun at certain things. Like, how do you tell the age of a person, an older person? You look at their neck, you look at their hands, you look at their knees, and you look at their elbows. That will give you a sign. You also look at their eyes. These are things that I know firsthand. Because if you look at my knees, my elbows, my neck, you will see my true age, despite the melanin. If you want to write fiction for older women, there are other things that are going on, like retirement, looking forward to another stage in life, perhaps going back to school or raising grandchildren. For me, I am looking forward to retiring, and I have mentioned that countless times in other videos because I am ready to move on, to focus on writing exclusively, to focus on traveling and celebrating the lives of my children, because eventually they will be getting married and they will be starting families of their own. And I want to be a part of that process. And let me stress, when I talked about aging and the things that happen, it's all a part of life. We will all go through it, God willing. And we can do it gracefully. And we can do it with ease. And we can also talk about it beforehand. Like, I'll give you an example. I haven't had a menstrual cycle, in God knows how long. And I don't miss it. Not one bit. And that's part of aging as well. And the hot flashes, ooh, we can write chapters and chapters and chapters about that. And I can dispel some myths that hot flashes, they stay with you for some years. They don't just come and go. It is a whole process. And then let's talk about the intimacy of an older woman or an older couple. What do they require as far as intimacy goes? Because we're not young people anymore. We're not going to be going at it, and we're not going to be as passionate as we were when we were in our 20s or our 30s. But there is a specialness to intimacy, to having a relationship with someone else. And that relationship will be based on more than the physical. So I look forward to writing these types of books. There is definitely a demand and a need for mature fiction for older women, because the things that we think about, the things that we strive for, the things that are important to us in our 40s, 50s, and 60s are different from those things that we wanted in our earlier years. And we've already moved on from that stage. We've already been there, done that. And so now we're looking forward to doing different things, new things. And I want that to be reflected in creating mature older women. I find for me that now that I'm in my 60s, I am focusing on creating a legacy for my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. I am also thinking of ways to buy land, to purchase land, so that that is in the family name. I am also driven. I'm up late at night. I'm up early in the morning. I am always working on my business, on my writing, on creating something that can be passed down. And I'm also creating a legacy of videos in case my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren may want to know, what was Elizabeth Griffin like? What was grandma like? What was great-grandma like? There are videos, there are books, there are things that they can go back to get a glimpse of who I am and what I stand for. So, for me, creating mature fiction, romance for older women is a must. I would also like to incorporate in my writing some of the things that are going on in today's society, such as dating online, and how awkward and strange that may be for an older person. Or what about if that person hasn't dated in 20 years? The dating scene is totally different. It is so fast-paced and unrecognizable. An older person may not be familiar with swiping left and swiping right or making connections. And what about the sexual fluidity of today's society, where we have so many different types of sexual experiences and descriptions of sexuality? How will an older person keep these things, these new ideas, how will they keep them straight in their head? In my writing, I will present these topics and so many others in a comedic way. And I will poke fun at aging and at certain things that happen. So, thank you for joining me on my platform. And as always, I am wishing you love, peace, joy, and happiness. Until next time, bye-bye.